and the gray zones, I often think that there's an element of uncertainty, and oftentimes when I've asked artists whose work also occupies a similar space, a lot of their work is about identity. Sometimes it's about migration. Sometimes it's about occupying multiple worlds. But my question is, what compels you to occupy such a space?
Such a space. Well, I think one of the things that when I started out as an artist, the most interesting thing to me was the idea of perception and how we choose certain things that we perceive and kind of collectively agree on things and create reality. And then there's all this sort of imaginative world. And it might be represented by myth, just by stuff you make up. And it's sort of how do you weave these two together to kind of give a concept of what the world is like. And at that time, I really felt that one of my missions as an artist was to say, things aren't quite as solid as they seem, and that this whole other realm, which maybe coalesces ideas about psychology and eons of human experience, sort of can inform this, and how does it inform this? I was also very interested in art, but I also have a scientific training as well, like pretty low down there, nothing special, but kind of enough to be sort of aware of that way of thinking, that way of identifying what's in the world. And I've always felt, as a person, very divided. Okay, just because our educational system, certainly when I was young, I hope less now, it was really either you were this kind of brain or you were that kind of brain, and you couldn't be both together. Yeah. And I was, but I had this brain over here and that brain over there, and for me it's always been, as you said, identity, always been, how do these kind of flow together, and how do I create some image or concept of the world, of a world that I can inhabit, where I belong, where these two do function and respect each other, as opposed to fight each other. And it does seem, I don't know, I don't think they do fight each other, but it seems to be, the way our culture is set up, it seems that they do.
It's divided or compartmentalized in a way.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's one of the things I'm really interested in too is, and I've said it a lot in early artist statements, and it's partly a function of language, is how we draw lines around things, okay, and say, this is this concept, and this concept right beside it, well, it's this concept. But in fact, they sort of leak into each other, and the choices that you make with language or with mathematics or science, it really depends on basically having discrete bundles. A lot like digital culture, you have to have discrete bundles in order to manipulate them, which is a really useful way of thinking and finding out about stuff, because you can't do it any other way if you're using a scientific method, which is, I think, perfectly great. Yeah. But then how does that relate to sort of a more intuitive method? Yeah. Because I think you can also learn a lot. We know a lot, but we don't know